The Unholy is a 2021 horror movie starring Jeffrey D. Morgan from The Walking Dead, who plays Negan on the show. The movie is based on a book by James Herbert, but does it live up to its high expectations? The film opens with a woman being accused of being a witch. She is hanged on an eerie tree and is set on fire, but before she dies, we see something come out of her soul, which then attaches itself to the body of a doll. Great, another spooky doll in a horror movie. Next, we flash forward to our main character, Jerry, who is investigating what turns out to be a hoax, and as he's leaving, discovers the doll. He proceeds to smash the doll and accidentally frees the spirit of the woman, setting in motion the scares to come. The lead actor is Jeffrey D. Morgan, who plays Jerry Finn, a disgraced journalist who travels to Massachusetts to investigate what has been described to him as a cattle mutilation. Jerry Finn is kind of a shifty guy, which comes across as soon as he appears on screen. Jeffrey Dean Morgan plays him with a sort of disappointment in the way his life turned out, and it makes you really feel like he's starting to come alive. In this story, Jerry basically takes weird and strange stories that nobody else cares enough to bother with, and travels all around the United States documenting them. It's a weird way to make a living, but it is implied pretty early on that he messed up in some way to deserve it. After smashing the doll, Jerry leaves in a frustrated mood. He's tired of traveling all over just to come back empty-handed, and lets his anger out in the car. Later on, Jerry is still driving and gets into a car accident because he's distracted by a girl, who turns out to be Alice, crossing his path. He gets out of the car and chases after her, only to find her at the tree that we saw the woman was killed at the start of the movie. She starts speaking and then passes out, which freaks out our guy Jerry, and he takes her to the church in order to help her and keep her safe. Alice is taken to the church, and Jerry finds out that she is a deaf mute, which seems weird because Jerry clearly heard her speaking near the tree before passing out. Jerry also seems to know something is up because he decides to stay in town in order to get to the bottom of things. I think we are also supposed to imply here that he's annoyed that the place he came from was a hoax and is itching to finally get something good. The very next day, Jerry is proven right because Alice wakes up and starts talking, shocking absolutely everyone in the town. This isn't just that she is speaking though, it's the things that she's saying too. She's proclaiming that she has been cured by the Virgin Mary, and that makes the whole thing basically go viral, or whatever the equivalent of this story is. The media show up, and the whole story starts getting bigger and bigger, to the point that the Catholic Church decides to send someone over from the Vatican just to investigate this claim. Around the same time that all of that stuff is happening, Alice begins blessing people in the town and healing whatever ails them. Everyone in turn starts believing in Christianity a lot more and begins flocking to the church. While all this is happening, Jerry and Alice start to hang out and actually kind of become friends. Jerry seems to genuinely like Alice for the most part, which is shocking considering how grumpy he's been so far, and Alice is just happy to have someone to talk to. Eventually, they start talking about the weird stuff that's been going on though, and Jerry starts to suspect that Alice has been a bit naive about what is really going on. Alice tells him that the being that she is speaking to said that her name was Mary, but Jerry isn't convinced that this is the Virgin Mary at all. Jerry thinks that Alice is just assuming that it's the religious figure, because he is having visions of this Mary entity, and she's actually super spooky and evil, not kind and sweet like Alice thinks. Jerry takes this as a sign that something evil is going on, and goes to find someone to help him out. Father Hagen is Alice's uncle, and also a priest, so he seems like the perfect person to talk to if you believe that his niece is possessed by some evil spirit. Jerry kind of confides in the father, and he admits that he also thinks that something is up, even though he got healed by Alice earlier. Father Hagen is on the right track, and even finds some papers detailing what is going on. So he's going to help Jerry fix all of this, right? Well, no. He then gets attacked by Mary and killed. They find him hanging in his own church, and things start to get interesting in this town. Bishop Giles, who is working with the church along with an assistant, finds the father the next morning, and when he meets up with Jerry, convinces him to keep things on the hush-hush because he thinks the whole thing is going to put a damper on all of the good that Alice's healing stuff is doing for the community right now. Jerry for some reason agrees with this, at least for now, and the town rules Father Hagen's death as an accident, like Bishop Giles wanted. Jerry seems to have some kind of hidden charm about him, because everyone seems to want to hang out with the guy. Jerry meets up with the town physician, Natalie, and he tells her why he is now stuck doing this crummy gig. Apparently, Jerry used to work with a major newspaper publication, but he got caught fabricating stories, and so now he can only really get work as a freelancer. He also tells her that he is hoping that this story will relaunch his career, since he believes this isn't a hoax at all and can actually make headlines. After a while, they finally come across the info that Father Hagen died for. Poor guy. And we get to know why this Mary wasn't so holy after all. Turns out, she actually may have been doing shady stuff to get herself killed in the opening scene, and that she sold her soul to Satan in order to live forever. The final piece of the puzzle, however, is that Alice is a descendant of Mary, and Satan's deal also allows any of Mary's descendants to heal people, so that they will pledge themselves to them, and ultimately Satan. They also find out that Bishop Giles knew about this the whole time. So Bishop Giles turned out to be the villain of the story, and has been doing this so that people will believe in the church again. The bishop doesn't really seem to care too much if it is actually Satan powering this whole thing, and only really cares about restoring faith in the church. He also takes some time to kind of mock Jerry here, and says that because his reputation is so bad, nobody is going to believe him, even if he does go off and try to snitch on him. We return to see what's been going on with the town, and see Alice trying to do a ceremony in front of the tree for Mary. Bishop Giles' friend from the church, who has been unaware of Giles' knowledge of events this whole time, is determined to stop what Alice is doing, because it turns out that if the town gives themselves up to Mary, they will actually be condemning themselves to hell. Giles' assistant attempts to confront Alice and Mary, but is killed by a burning cross that Mary uses to crush him to death, ensuring that the ceremony will continue. Everyone in the town has to chant Mary's name 3 times, and their allegiance to Satan is sealed. But Jerry sees his moment to redeem himself and save the town, and promptly takes it. He shouts that everything the town has experienced with Alice was all a hoax the whole time, and that the only reason that they think they have been healed is actually just because of the placebo effect. This causes the people to hesitate, which allows Natalie to use sign language to communicate with Alice in an attempt to inform her what's really going on. Natalie begs Alice to stop the service, and because of this, Mary tries to convince her to keep going. The way she does this, though, reveals her true nature to Alice, and she finally sees that this isn't the Virgin Mary at all. Now on Jerry and Natalie's side, she lies to the crowd that the miracles were false. Suddenly, Mary's tree bursts into flames, and everyone from the town runs away. Bishop Giles gets absolutely annihilated by Mary, who is really angry at this point. But as she goes to kill Jerry, Alice steps in the way to save him, sacrificing herself for him. This breaks Jerry's heart, and he begs God to bring her back while she lays in his arms. God hears him, and she returns to life, but she is back to being a deaf mute. Sadly for the town, everyone relapses, but at least things are kinda back to normal. At the very end, we see a Virgin Mary statue crying blood, and we fade to black. Overall, a really creepy movie with some good twists and turns along the way. And with that, it wraps up the video. Thanks for watching.